Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Hermes release webinar. Welcome, John. Glad to be
Thank you,
here with
Jeremy.
you. So
How's it going?
it's going good. It's going good. I'm out in California, so it's a lot warmer for me than I know it is for you back east. We were just
I took
chatting
my
about
scarf off just for this call because I did have it on before. It's that cold in here.
putting scarf
And
and hat on
Jonathan, I know Jonathan Meyer usually joins these too. It's like even colder outside of Chicago.
in Chicago. Yeah.
So hopefully by our next call, he'll be warmed up.
All right, great. Well, we got a lot of people here. We got a lot of people interested. I was looking through everybody who's joining us today, and a lot of great customers, a lot of great folks who know HawkSearch, and I know everybody's excited to learn about what we're talking about here today, because this is really a culmination of a lot of great things coming together. So very quickly, we're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about 4 things regarding the Hermes release. We're going to talk about unified search, which is very exciting. We're going to talk about an updated preview in the back end. We're going to talk about unit of measure, which is really important, especially for our B2B customers. And we also have some new automation with our messaging, and we're going to look at all that today. So let's jump in, because I know we've got a lot to cover. If we could go to, I guess, 2 slides forward.
Yep, sure. And I'll just highlight for people who have been following along, we started with Zeus and then we went to Athena. Hermes is the messenger god, and that's kind of, you were saying, Jeremy, pulling these thoughts together. So basically between those 2 releases, and he's really fast. So we've done a bunch of performance enhancements here, which help.
Yeah, no, I love all your naming. I think it's a lot of fun. So let's frame this up first, because really this is all about relevancy for us, because we know relevancy drives conversion. And we do know there's a lot of our B2B customers are online today, and these are really great stats to really ground ourselves with, right? Which is that, B2B search, we know, is critically important. In fact, Gartner actually now puts search and product discovery as one of your most critical components of your tech stack. So we know B2B users are using search, and we know that conversion goes up when the search is powerful, it's dialed in, and it understands how to bring back relevant results. So let's go to the next slide. The most important thing for us is we're going to be talking a lot about what we call unified search, which is really all of 3 of these things, right? We started with keyword. That's traditionally who HawkSearch is. And we have now introduced smart search and smart response. So you'll see that in terms of innovation, that's where we're going. We're also going to give you a preview into what's next on our roadmap, which is fun. But you'll notice for us, everything is about that right side, which is driving relevancy. So just keep that in mind for your own use cases as you watch us and you see all this great stuff today. I know you'll be thinking about your use case, like, and what do you want to solve with all of this? So, as you translate a lot of this stuff into, hey, this is interesting, this might work for us, just keep in mind for us, all of this innovation is really around driving business for you, and that's what really matters most to us. So with that, John, yeah, excited to jump in here and get the update from you.
Oh yeah, totally. And I love the Gen AI, Jeremy. Good job on this image too. So all the pictures we do these days seem to be driven by Dolly or some other tool. So it's kind of fun. But the unified search, it's interesting because when Zeus and Athena first came out, I was even thinking, it is kind of interesting. A lot of people think keyword search, but hey, try this one. And it's the concept search. But of course, everyone came back and said, this should just be one search bar. So unified search means you take the best of those 3 inputs, the keyword, obviously, the concept, the vector search using the embedding model. But then also it sometimes seems a bit off that the image search, really the image search. But if you remember, our image functionality, what we call visual search, really is split into 2. You have visual search is I upload a picture, but we also have, you can describe the picture. So sometimes those pictures, they say is worth 1,000 words. like that would help with the unified search. So it's a request that actually has 3 kind of results that come back. They're all normalized and sorted in the appropriate response. And the great thing is, it's still like the search results that you would have had before. So from a developer's perspective, you just pass in a new variable called unified search. The request type is of type unified search, and you still get the same facets, the same results. Everything that you would expect in the JSON we return from our API is the same. The updated preview, you mentioned it briefly, Jeremy, is just that, well, now there's more tools to try out in the preview section inside of HawkSearch. So you'll see there's a little switch, and we're adding more and more functionality. We'll eventually move to the new version, as you'll see, but there is some functionality that's still in the old preview, so we'll leave that around for a while. The measure you already kind of highlighted there, a lot of it has to do with speed and performance. So there's Hermes coming in, helping out with speed. And then I know you were kind of setting the tone or the planting the seed, Jeremy, for the future, but we really are looking a lot at agentic AI and automation, and how can you let these agentic processes monitor the system and make updates. So we've already started to make some progress there. So we'll show that off. In the demo here. Any other thoughts or comments, Jeremy?
No. As you get into it, you mentioned image search as an example. You're right. I mean, to me, what's really interesting, and I think folks should think about, is one thing we've seen a lot with our customers is that they look at a lot of these new features, like image search as an example, and they're realizing that that this new functionality can help gaps in their data, right? So if we're able to search an image and understand some of the attributes of that image and then use that in the search result, that's basically the equivalent of you not having that data in your data set and us still being able to find it. So, I mean, that's really powerful. And again, that's how I would go through this webinar, thinking about, like, okay, how can I apply this to my business?
Oh, totally. Yeah, great point, Jeremy. Cool. All right, well, let's spend a little bit more time just on the features here. I will do a demo as well. But the first part here, for people who haven't seen all of this, is that there's not the toggle back and forth, as I was commenting before, between concept and keyword search. But you might then say, oh boy, so now you're saying there's actually 3 API calls every time I do a search? And the answer is no. It's a single API call, and we've worked out the details in the back end that just say, incorporate these 3 kind of components, normalize the results, and return them back. So it's performant, so it performs well and it's quick, but then also it's not like, oh, we're going to triple all the API calls for everybody. It's still a single API call. Admittedly, a smart Hawk AI call. So if you're not using Hawk AI there and you upgrade, there is a small bump on the API charge, but there's not more usage, if you will. And the other thing, I didn't highlight this, but I should have, you might say, well, we're seeing a lot of interesting results out of the concept, but not that much from image. Like, no problem. You could just say, like, well, I only want it between these 2, or maybe you do want it across all 3, but there are boost options for each one of those types. So you might say, I really want to boost keyword, and then concept and image search, maybe not as much. So you could turn on and turn off each one of the options, and you can boost them accordingly. So this is what I was saying before, especially people who know RapidUI. So one of the things that's so exciting about it is it does, of course, incorporate all of our new features and enhancements. And for people who remember the default preview, we're now moving in an option. I'll show you in the demo, but now you have the option for both. Now, once again, Jeremy, as you were saying before, just to kind of plant the seed for where we're going with the roadmap, one of the advantages for people who are familiar with HawkSearch in that the default preview interface, there are a lot of overlays. I call it the merchandising overlay. It tells you all the boost rules. It gives you an advanced explanation of why that result came back. Like, why is this one coming back first? So we are going to move those options into this interface as well. So you'll see as we're iterating on this part of the preview, we are moving those features into here. Then you'll have one clean interface, and you can turn on and turn off that merchandising overlay. You might just want to look at it like this. You click a button, it would turn on the merchandising overlay. So it'll just be a lot more flexibility. And once again, planting the seeds, we have a lot of interest, and we're doing a lot of engineering work around agentic AI, essentially saying, let the agent take steps for, in this case, the merchandiser. So the things that people do when they log into HawkSearch and do updates and boost things or add synonyms or whatever it may be, that's going to be ongoing. But there could be scenarios where you let the system monitor that for you and make changes. What I'm going to show here is really just to give you an alert, and then we're working on the action, so to speak, to make the updates once you see what the issue was and explain to the system, like approve, like, yes, I approve. I want you to add those synonyms, for example. So those are the features. Oh, look at that. I love this one, right, Jeremy? We'll switch over to the demo unless you had any other comments, Jeremy, before I switch over.
No, let's look forward to it.
Cool. Okay, well, I also love this because this has really shown the trajectory from Zeus to Athena to now Hermes. And by the way, the other options that we had before is not going to change. So for example, just to kind of set the table here, this is what we were showing off both from Zeus kind of going into Athena was this interface. So some of it is very well understood. So for example, I click into the search bar, I see instant engage. That's a core feature of the platform. If I start typing, we know this world, it changes to autocomplete. Once again, kind of classic standard keyword search functionality, do my search, and we know this world. And then if you remember, and this was something Jonathan showed off a number of times, if you tried to put a concept, like a full question inside the keyword, it wouldn't necessarily return the right result. So if I say, what should I bring for cooking on a camping trip? It's not horrible, but it's not perfect, right? Because it's looking for these keywords and trying to figure out, like, what should I be returning here? But if you switch to concepts, it works quite well, right? So now it understands, like, you cook breakfast food and you put spice on food, even though it's not explicit in the descriptions for these products to say, hey, you can eat this, like, or you can cook it. That's where the concept search really brings the two together, what you're looking to do and the descriptions that are in your system, using AI to do that. But from a UX perspective, I do kind of get that it's not perfect. And then don't forget, there's 3 aspects to Unified, because there could be pictures of things that are good for cooking. So for example, lunch kit, that's pretty clear from the name that, must be for eating lunch, obviously. But a Pinnacle Duelist, like, I don't know, a brand, what have you, there's nothing in the name or the description that says, hey, you cook with this stuff. But this comes from the image, right? It's not coming from the keyword or the concept. So once again, you might say, great, this is exactly what my search interface should look like, and this is exactly how I want it to work. But you might say, I think I'd rather unify it. Can't I just have one search? So once again, this unified search, it is indeed one search bar. So notice here, you could, of course, add the image upload, just to take a picture. We do have this neat little feature here that kind of like gives some examples, because since you don't have the switch between concept and keyword, you may be like, oh, I didn't know I could actually type in a sentence. But in any case, when I do the same thing, you're going to have that same result coming from all 3. Wake up, system. It's always fun when I do this demo the first time. Yeah. So what it's doing here is it's combining the results from all of them. I'm sorry about that. The results are coming from all of them. And as I said, they're normalized. So the ranking system across these 3 different 2 models and 1 index are all normalized in the back end. So we're taking the best from each one, resorting them and sending it back. But you'll notice when I was doing each one of those search options, each one still had the same facets on the left-hand side and results, etc. So if you were a developer and you say, well, we already have your site and I already have a search bar, like what do I have to do to turn on this magic? Other than some configuration settings in Hawk Search, which just means turn on the vector search capabilities. Other than that, you just pass in one more variable. You say request type equals unified search. Even I can kind of go up here and see it. So this is, we expose it so you can kind of see what's going on. But you'll see the request type is unified. All the rest is the same.
John, as I watch our customers engage with all of this, it's been really interesting for our customers who have tracked us through keyword search and then concept search and image search, because really, like you said, I mean, the unified search bar is the key and is what everybody wants. But what's interesting is the fact that we can break out into a demo site or a POC like this, keyword and concept and image. That means we can work with our customer to go look at all three of those, kind of see how our system is understanding the catalog from each of those, and see which one is doing well, which one is not doing well. But a really common question we get, I hear it all the time, and I know you said it, but I just want to be really clear here, is explain more how our system isn't just looking at each search and saying which one is best and just give me those results. It's actually bringing all of them together. Can you just talk about that for a minute?
Totally. Yeah. And I know the unified, like, what does that literally mean? It is merging the results. Whenever we're returning these results, and when you get into the details of Hawk Search, a lot of times you're talking about boosting. I want to boost this, or, there's going to be a number representation that says this is the best match because it has the highest score. But as I was saying before, Jeremy, and to your point, the scoring system are slightly different across these. It's kind of like when you say in dog years, like how old's your dog? And you understand, like, yeah, dogs don't live as long. So you kind of have to translate it, so to speak, right? You need to normalize the age of the dog, so to speak. And that's what we're doing. So we understand the ranking system that comes back like that's a perfect match as far as keyword understands, and this is a very good K value, meaning how close is the search result to what I was looking for, which is essentially a score, and understanding, oh, okay, I'm going to normalize that result. So literally the sort order we see here across these tiles is based on what is the best from each one of these. And we do have some scenarios, maybe it's a long tail keyword, maybe some other type of request that we know the keyword search doesn't always return the right result, but concept does. It could be that all the results that you see here in this interface for unified search, it could be they all came back from concept search because you asked a question. But if you put in a keyword, it could be all the results come back from the keyword search. So it's taking the best of all three. That's why I really do love this diagram here, because we're not saying anything replaces the previous one. We're not saying, hey, good news, we don't need keyword anymore. No. We still use keyword. It's always going to stay there as we keep innovating here. It's just that we're adding additional relevancy conceptually, which is what this is showing, but we are literally doing it with unified search.
Great.
Good question. So this is a fun part, because for people who were kind of paying attention, when Jonathan did some of our demos in the past, Hawk Search takes time to deploy, and we would say like, okay, well, it's deploying, you'll probably see it tomorrow or something like that. Maybe part of the Hermes story is that we're deploying a lot faster now too, making those types of enhancements. So I'm actually going to show you that feature I was talking about in preview inside of it's still my demo account, this outdoor demo, but I am in production here. So if I go to that preview, I'm sure people who use Hawk Search are familiar with this, and this interface, and that's the default. But we have so many cool innovations that we've done inside of RapidUI, needless to say the concept and the visual search, that we're going to move the functionality from that default into this interface. So some of the other features, with explanations, this is what I refer to as that merchandising overlay, as I was describing before. Yes, we're going to work on that and move these into the new interface. And then you have some fun settings. So for example, I turn on the visual search. This is what we have shown, in the past, but it's kind of fun if I grab that skier with the goggles here. So here's how you can test all of our searches: the keyword, the concept, the visual, the unified, all through the new interface. And then the overlay will be another option. Just imagine another option up here, just like these are options, that says turn on the overlay. And if you turn on the overlay, it's going to turn these overlays on. It's just taking some time to get the code into the RapidUI piece. But that's essentially what we're talking about. So eventually we'll have one preview, it'll have all the new features, and it'll put the overlays and let you control, like, you want to see it with the overlay or not see it with the overlay. Cool. And then the final piece, it's funny, I always like, are any questions? Of course, you can type one in if someone has one. We were kind of highlighting this too, Jeremy, that this really is kind of putting us on the path towards agentic and automation. So what do I mean by that?
Well, first, give everybody a definition of agentic.
Yeah, so agency, the word itself is the thing. And does it have agency? Meaning, does it actually change something? So the use case that we're working on right now, and it'll be one of the first use cases, is there is a report inside of HawkSearch, which is called keyword searches with poor results. And that's a concern. Like, theoretically, you would never want that. Of course, with unified search, it theoretically wouldn't happen. But look, something always happens. You don't know what it is, but it's a nice report. The issue is, the only way you're going to know what those terms or what it may be that people are searching for, you won't know unless you log in and actually check that report. The issue, though, is, okay, well, I don't want to log in all the time. Can't I tell you, meaning, can I tell HawkSearch, the agent, so to speak, that this is my threshold? And because you might say, look, someone did a fat finger and dispelled something wrong, but let's say I see it 3 times in 1 week. Well, then that's a problem. Like, something's going on here. But can't you alert me? And now, actually, here's a nice little feature to highlight here. So this is not agentic yet, but it's getting there. So hold on one second, Jeremy. So here's the example. So here's one. This is the new one. It's the keyword performance. So let's say I have the outdoor demo site. So let's just say, look, I really care about jacket. Like, when people search for jacket, I really want to know what's going on there. And the point is, you may want to say, I know how often people search for jacket, and I want to know if there's a percentage change. So let's say it goes down by more than 10%, let's say, I want you to send me an alert. Like, that just makes sense. And I want you to kind of look at it over the last week. So over the last week, if it goes down by more than 10%, I want you to tell me that this keyword, jacket, has decreased, let's say, 10% in the last week. And then I want to get it every day. So you just say when you want to get it. But Jeremy, to your point, we're not changing anything. We're just telling you that, hey, that something's up. You might want to boost it, or I don't know, something's going on there. You should take a look at this. What the agentic part will do is that email that tells you, hey, it looks like you have some traffic going down, or conversions or what have you going down for, let's say, a specific keyword. Imagine if the agentic system says, well, let me try some synonyms and see if there's like a workaround or some option to fix this, and then test it. So the first thing it would do is generate the synonym. Okay, does this synonym return a better result? And it would analyze the results and say, yes, it is. So the email that says, hey, we recommend you add these 2 or 3 or whatever it may be synonyms, there'd be a button that says, yes, I want to change that. So rather than you go in and you have to add the synonym and you have to do that work, the agent would do it for you. So that was a really long answer, Jeremy. But the simple answer to your question is that this process we're describing here has agency. Now, you might say, well, this kind of has agency because it's sending you an email, but it's like, yeah, but it's not changing the system. Yeah, it's nice to send an email, and that's wonderful. But the agentic part will be when it actually makes an adjustment in the system. And the final thing I'll say, Jeremy, is we're not going to automate the actual addition of those synonyms. We do still want the merchandiser to review it, confirm it's okay. Maybe they don't want to, or what have you. But once they say, yes, it's approved, so to speak, then this agentic AI system, this process, would have the API endpoint and permissions to go in and actually add, in this case, those synonyms. Does that make sense, Jeremy?
Yeah. So everything I'm hearing about things like Agent Force and Copilot, where an AI agent has the capacity to go do something on your behalf. That's what we're talking about. That's what agentic is, and that's where we're headed as well. As we're going to have a lot of agentic capabilities, or in other words, a lot of AI agents that can go do the stuff for you.
Right. And always the trick in more, let's say, general purpose, agentic systems, as we're describing, is you better know how to connect to that system. You're going to need the API, authentication, etc. We have a slight advantage here, because guess what? We certainly know how to communicate with our system through the API. So, our agents, at least for the initial release of them, are going to be very much focused on HawkSearch. Of course, they could be more general purpose, but in that case, guess what? It needs to be able to connect to whatever that system is to make that change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also heard another really important thing from you, which is, again, in the larger picture, I'm also hearing this, but, agents plus humans, though, is still the key, right? We're not looking to replace
Oh,
humans,
yeah.
right? We're looking
Totally.
to,
This is the automation should be helping. That's the goal for sure. Yeah.
yeah, great.
So one other detail, we'll go back to the deck, Jeremy, but one other detail just to highlight here, because, we covered the highlights, but there are more details that you can check out. So if you go to the user guide, for people who don't know, we do have our more detailed release notes here. So if you just come in here and go in, you'll get a little bit more detail about what is in the release. So please check it out and let us know what you
Look at that.
think.
January, the first HawkSearch release of
Oh, yeah.
2025. January.
We're starting big here.
All right. Well, this is excellent. We are staying on schedule, and thank you so much, John. That was amazing. And there you have it, folks. Unified search. I know everybody has wanted to see that. So there it is. So thank you for that. To wrap up here, we have had a really fun survey going. We actually started it back in December, and we've been asking everybody, with all this new AI stuff we're talking about here, what can AI solve for your business? And we have been getting some really interesting responses back, right? Very specific. This is my use case. And what's really interesting to me is I have heard folks say things like, yeah, we've been trying for years to solve this, or frankly, I tried to solve this years ago and I just stopped, but now that all I'm hearing about is, AI is amazing and AI can solve this and this, I'm just going to throw it out there to you to say, this is the thing I've been trying to solve. You tell me, can all this new great stuff solve it? So we've had a lot of fun with this. Everybody here, we'll send you a link to this survey, because we would not only love to hear from you, and we'd love to hear how you're thinking of how AI can solve your business. But because it was the holidays, and because we were asking people to fill out a survey, we actually told everybody we were going to pick some winners and give out some gifts. And so we said we would announce that in our first release webinar. But we're going to do that again. So we're going to get you the link. We'd love to hear from you on this survey. We'd love to hear how you think AI can solve some of your business challenges. And then let's wrap up, John, with some fun stuff about who did win from back in December during the holidays, who won. So here we go. So Stacy gave some really insightful information about, like, here's how I think about it, and here's what I think I can solve. And then Ben and Monica were runner-ups. And so each of you will get a gift card, and we really appreciate you filling out the survey. We really appreciate you guys all being customers and really and working with us on all this new AI capabilities. So with that, John, thanks so much. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to get them to us. And like I said, you'll get a link to the AI survey, which we'd love to get from you as well. So with that, we're leaving everybody a minute. And again, John, thanks so much. And we'll be back on in a couple weeks, actually, with another webinar. So if you go to hawksearch.com, go into resources, go to our webinars. We've got another great webinar coming up in our series about Hawk AI and how you can leverage it for your business. So be on the lookout for that too.
Cool. Thanks, Jeremy.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Thanks everybody
Thank you,
for joining.
everybody.